No, you don't need the.
I'm doing this my way. He a legend, he a legend, he a legend. He a legend, he a legend, he a legend.
Talking on it though, then
He
you
a
can't work it
legend.
up later.
Welcome to the league, to the league, to the league, to the league, to the league of items. Welcome to the league, to the league, to the league, to the league, to the league of items.
Hello and welcome to the first League of Items variety show. I'm your host, Pikel, aka He a Legend, He a Legend, He a Legend. In this video I have highlights, DraftKings reviews from last night, my bets for tomorrow's games, and a first look at tomorrow's DraftKings slate. I've got a lot of segments lined up for you today, so let's get right into it. Up first, wait, what's that music? Oh, it's Esports Center. Boom. Welcome back to Summoner's Rift. LPL Summer has arrived and our first match pits Edward Gaming against World Elite. Game 1 starts with Elise and Renekton screaming, "You done messed up, me Aatrox," as the Darkened Blade bites the dust for first blood. But not to be outdone, Set starts off the season fisting Aphelios and Nautilus in the bot lane. I hope you weren't planning on winning this game. Renekton TP's in, and the Gator is promptly skinned alive and turned into shoes. World Elite finds a pick onto Scout and secures the dragon, while EDG mental booms and takes a horrible fight, opening the door for a Game 1 comeback. After setting up a pick at Baron, Hope rends away any hope and slams the door on World Elite in a decisive teamfight, securing Baron and promptly closing out the game. In the draft for Game 2, EDG and World Elite say, "Thank you, sir, may I have another whooping," locking in 7 of the same champions from the previous game. The early game brings more of the same, with Scout finally living up to his name and sniffing out a handful of kills with his equalizer after a decent dive bot lane. Aphelios and Rumble both picked up a lot of gold and undoubtedly typed worth in all chat. But what is worth? And who is worth more? After one-shotting Aphelios with his ultimate, Scout was feeling good on the Junkyard Rat, but Mr. 200 Years would have the last laugh. EDG follows Scout's lead and loses all hope after taking the cheese in a tight corridor at the Dragon fight, where A-Soul denies D-Soul by blowing out their a-holes. In the deciding fight of the match, Teacher Ma and Zhao Meng learn EDG some manners, with Beishang punting the rat out of the fight after a horrible equalizer, and starts pinging EDG's crock of a lead. What a comeback by World Elite! World Elite doing World Elite things in the draft for Game 3, while EDG subs out their jungler. Not sure you can blame the jungler with tons of kills in Game 2. Bold move, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off for him. But not to be outdone, World Elite finds Exodia and assembles a sickening wombo combo. The game finally gets interesting after 5 minutes of farming, as Missing disappears from the rift before the first drag. Beishang sacrifices himself to the Wombo Combo gods as Galio ults in, taunts 3 players, and kills the jungler before EDG saves the dragon. But at what cost? After a minute-long exchange, World Elite limps out of the first trade with a slight gold lead, but down on dragons. Missing gets picked off again right before the Rift Herald fight, but Set is apparently the Rift God's favorite tribute as World Elite fearlessly charges at EDG. After a quick disengage and smite steal, World Elite overstays to protect the eye and dies. Down over 2,000 gold, Team World Elite engages on an overextended EDG with their first Wombo Combo of the match. Too much hard CC, separating the fight into 2 separate skirmishes, winning both. Just as Baron spawns at the 20-minute mark, EDG and World Elite fight once again. And Set powerbombs EDG into oblivion after a sick setup by Galio's taunt. World Elite also secures Baron. Now up thousands of gold, Set is coming in hot with the Happy Feet. Happy Feet, oh, Wombo Combo, oh my god, Wombo Combo, that ain't Falco, that's Galio, baby. And World Elite finishes the improbable comeback after being down over 5,000 gold in Game 2. Don't give Teacher Ma Galio, EDG. You played yourself. GG easy, noobs. Flandre starts the season on the sidelines, bringing in Shenlong 17 and potentially signaling the end of Flandre's tenure in the top lane. I think LNG and Sunning were probably drained from the amazing first series and couldn't muster up the courage to follow that performance with anything but a stinker in Game 1. The first 24 minutes were a snooze fest, but once Sunning woke up, they stubbed their toe and were pissed, taking all their anger out on LNG around the Dragon Pit. 2 minutes later, they're back at it again with the hot picks around Baron, dumpstering LNG 3-1 and securing Baron. Sunning starts the season with a Game 1 victory after clinically closing out the game from an unlosable position. There's no way Game 2 could be as boring as Game 1, right? Wrong. LNG must love losing because they pick early game champs but don't play aggro in the early game. At the 16-minute mark, Sunning is looking for their 3rd dragon of the game, setting up Soul Point, but LNG gets in position just in time to secure the dragon. Oh wait, it's a trap, and the Monkey King swiftly does a barrel roll into the entire enemy team. There were a few close fights in the mid-game, but the game was never in doubt. Sunning sets up around the Baron Pit again, and Wukong takes over the fight, easily getting onto the back line and acing the enemy. LNG looked lost in their first series, as Sunning walked on Sunshine, securing their first Summer Split Series victory. At the end of day 1, Pikel's picks are a smooth 2-0. Back to you, Pikel.
Mwah. Masterpiece. What an amazing debut for Esports Center, if I do say so myself. So the rest of this will be a lot more what you're used to, but that was a lot of fun. If you enjoyed that, please share it. I think I did a pretty okay job. So yeah, I'd love to know what people thought about the Esports Center segment. But now it is time for About Last Night. So in About Last Night, when I used to make these videos during the previous seasons, it's about the DraftKings slates from the previous day, which are relevant to like the highlights that we just watched. So let's take a look at some of the scoring and some of the ownership percentages and stuff like that. So let me just put a filter on this. Okay, so first let's go with ownership percentages. So for ownership percentages, we had Sunning as the most highly owned team. Not very surprising, considering they were the biggest favorite, and nobody was going to play LNG. So we have Huanfeng at 60% on a 2-game slate. This is going to be important information to watch out for like future slates. So we have biggest favorite AD carry 60%, Angel 48%, Sunning the team slot 47%, Sword Art 45.81. Then we have Bin, who was a decent amount lower at 32.52, and S of M at 32%. The reason for the discrepancy between these is that I think this was like what was stacked most often and used as one-offs or stuff like that. So Sunning was probably used in a bunch of game stacks and stuff, which eventually ended up winning it. So then let's take a look at the other teams. So LNG had their support at 7%. We have their jungler at 9.73%, top laner 11.5%. LNG's team was 12%. Light, their AD carry 16%, and Maple was 16.71%. So that's surprisingly high. I'm surprised that people wanted to go in that direction. I guess it was mostly to be contrarian. But like I said in the videos, I didn't think there were many winning chances for LNG last night, so I just wasn't going to play them in any of my lineups, and I didn't play them in any of my lineups. I took a shot at a couple tickets again. I lost those. I had World Elite plus Sunning in like a bunch of different combinations in those contests and in the 20 entry max. Just because it's a fun tournament. I hate 2-game slates. If it was up to me and I wasn't making videos and stuff, I would not be playing 2-game slates at all. I just think they're horrible. But yeah, I think you probably knew that already. So let's move on to the ownership from the first matchup, which was between EDG and World Elite. So we have Hope and Scout from EDG were in 38.6 and 36.2. Junjia was supposed to be the starter. He was. DraftKings was giving the points to the wrong jungler at one point, but they fixed that. So EDG, World Elite, EDG, World Elite, EDG, World Elite, EDG. Am I missing players? Beishang, SFM. Oh, Jiaomeng, World Elite. Okay. So we have Jiaomeng, 39.36%. Hope, 38.66%. Scout, 36.28%. Junjia, 33.87%. So we have ADC, mid, jungle, carrying more ownership as usual. Then we have the AD carry. The jungler was fitting into lineups better. And then we had Teacher Ma. So actually this should be this times that is 98. So then we switch that. Oh. That messes up because like it says captain or whatever. So you just got to fix it by hand. So we have World Elite, World Elite, World Elite. So the way that these games went, it was like Game 1, EDG won pretty hard. Game 2, big comeback for World Elite. And then Game 3, World Elite won. But the kill differential between the two teams was very close. The kill difference in Game 1 was larger for EDG over World Elite than I think it was like reversed in the third game. So you had Hope and Scout with big performances. Junjia only played in 2 of the matches, but scored more than Hope and almost as much as Scout. And that's because in the second game, that Nidalee game, I think he had like 9 kills at one point at least, which is very good for very good for a jungler. So yesterday during my video, at one point I said, oh shoot, I think I'm wrong about their jungler, because I saw that he played Nidalee and Kindred and Graves, I think, or some combination of those champions, but I still liked World Elite to win the matchup more. So if I was building EDG lineups, I would have had Junjia, but I just don't like game stacking. I think in the long run it's better to stay away from it. But to win one individual, like if I was trying to build a portfolio of lineups to win one individual tournament, I would probably sneak 1 or 2 game stacks into there if my goal was to win every single first place. But it's like that's not really reasonable. You're kind of better off long term if you're building high equity lineups and then just doing it day after day. That's open for debate, but whatever. EDG, so then we have Audi in the top lane. So he was about 5% higher than Morgan. We had Beishang against Junjia. So Beishang was outscored by Junjia. Junjia only played 2 of the matches, which is surprising. Like, this is the kind of thing that can happen in a best of 3. Well, it could happen in one individual game as well, where like the losing jungler outscores the winning jungler, but it's like a fringe case. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Team World Elite. Okay, so then team slot was pretty similar. Support and support. So the lineups that had Zhao Meng were more likely to have Missing, and Missing also fits better into game stacks. Not game stacks. Fits better into like 4-3s and 3-4s where you want to stack Huan Feng and Zhao Meng together and stuff like that. So that was what the ownership was looking like. Let's do this. So I fixed that. So Teacher Ma was the highest scorer on the night. I had some lineups with Teacher Ma as my captain, but I didn't have them with Scout in the mid lane as well. So I guess theoretically the best possible lineup would have been Teacher Ma, Zhao Meng, Scout, Junjia over Beishang, just slightly, with Morgan. And then you would get... Would you get Morgan? It would have... Okay, so let's just make the lineup. Top, captain, top, jungle, mid, ADC, support, team. So the highest scoring team was Sunning. You were most likely able to get Sunning in without the salary constraints being a problem. I'm not 100% positive about that though. We have Mako as the best support on the day. We have Teacher Ma, Scout, Zhao Meng. Then we would have Junjia and Morgan. So we would have World Elite, World Elite, World Elite. So it would have been a 3-3-1. And I will almost never run a 3-3-1, including like a big game stack like this. So it happens. You can't always be on the optimal lineup. Not going to lose any sleep over that. So let's get the... Ooh. All right, so now we have... So now we have my best lineup. Let's go to the winning lineup. So the winning lineup, this guy JV882221 had 629.68 points. He had Zhao Meng, Morgan, Beishang, Teacher Ma, Hope, Mako, Sunning. So the lineup that I suggested, I think would outscore that. I don't feel like actually doing that right now. But it just shows you don't have to be on the optimal in order to win $4,000. Good job, bro. Let's view the head-to-head. I think it was 17. All right. So 17. So the difference between the first place lineup and my lineup was 8 points in top lane, 13 points in mid lane, and 6 points in the bot lane. That's fine. I did like the Sunning. I did like Angel last night as a contrarian option. I thought that it would be good for like leverage off of Huanfeng, and like if World Elite won and Teacher Ma and Zhao Meng had great nights and Angel did just as well as Huanfeng, then there are chances of that kind of lineup coming in first place. So let's take a look at how many times that was duplicated. So the one thing that I always do, I think I've shown this before, is you create a filter. You go to entry name. You look yourself up. And then these are all your lineups, and this is how many times it's duplicated. You have to do like an equation for this, or a formula for this. It's equals count if the range, so this column, and then the individual lineup. So that was 17. It was copied 34 times, so 34 other people had that same lineup. Yeah, just a good way to figure out if you're making unique lineups and like how much you're gonna chop if you chop. It's also good because you're learning stuff about the slate at the same time. What else can we do for about last night? So about last night, my bet was risking 1 unit on World Elite because I thought that they should be the favorites, and I won. So I'm plus 1.37 units right now. I didn't bet on the second match. I didn't think there was any value there, but that would have been free money, I guess. Not going to lose any sleep over that. So I guess we can get into the next... We can get into the next segment. All right, so let's get started with tonight's games. Game 1. V5 against Dominus. The starting lineups are out. I retweeted them. Kenzie is the guy who I retweeted them from. He's a reporter. He gets a lot of this information. He may get them from some other person, but I don't know who that person is. So let's just take a look at the lineup. So first, for Victory 5, we have Bew, Wei Wei, Mole, Sam D, and PP God. Twitter is going insane for PP God. I shouldn't say it like that, but I didn't think about it until I finished saying it. So yes, everyone wants to roster PP God. Imagine this is the V5 roster that turns things around. All you had to do was bring in the PP God. So one of the issues with V5 and picking V5 players, aside from the fact that they were winless last season, is that they have a lot of players they could be switching through during the games. So there's always going to be a substitute risk when you're playing V5 players. I think that we got to look at the roster. So let's take a look at Gamepedia. So Gamepedia has Bew as the only top laner. However, we know that V5 will play players in different positions. CLX and Mole. Yeah, Mole went from top to mid because like they changed him at one point. So I don't even think Bew is safe. But he's probably more safe than most of the other guys. Let's see the order that these guys joined. So Wei Wei, I forget where he came from. Sunning. Okay. He's not... I don't think he's a difference maker. He didn't do anything last season to convince me that he was going to be a great player. He didn't really get many matches while on Sunning, and I kind of do like Sunning right now, so I guess it's a bad thing that he left that team. Sam D is a player that they just got from an academy team, I think. Yes. So Sam D and Wei Wei are both coming from Sunning. Oh, and Bubu came from Sunning too, right? Sunning S. So Sunning S is like their academy team? Strange. So what does that mean? I don't think that's a good thing, right? They are pretty young at this point. Y4, I don't think Y4 was really the issue a lot of the time. It's tough to win the game when everybody is losing their position. I liked Xiaohan. Man, this is wild. Yeah, V5 players are going to be tough to roster because of the number of players that they could theoretically substitute. And then we have DMO. So DMO has Natural, Xiaopeng, Twila, Helper, and Mitsuki. So let's take a look at their team page. Twila used to be named Xie, correct? Oh, Xiaowei. Okay, Xie is the other. Xie is the guy that left the team. So Xiaowei is now Twila. So Mark left, Xie left. Helper's a new bot laner, a new AD carry. Mitsuki is a new support player. Yeah, Bless was their substitute last split, I believe. So let's take a look at their match history. So Xiaowei wasn't even playing at the end of the season. Natural was, Xiaopeng was, Gala was the AD carry, and then Mark was the support. But I think Bless got some games in. I guess not. So there's a significantly lower risk of DMO subbing out players. If I'm looking at a team like DMO to get any wins during the season, it's going to be against a team like V5. This is a very difficult matchup. I don't think that anyone can really play players with confidence. I think what we're going to see is Dominus being very highly owned because V5 lost so much last season and because nobody knows who is going to play for V5. So that's going to keep their ownership down a little bit. And since there's all that uncertainty, if you have a stack from the second game and you want to stack it with a team from this matchup, you're going to have to use Dominus. So I think for that reason alone, they are going to be either the first or second most highly owned team on the slate, unless everyone just goes out of their mind with game stacks, which would be hilarious. Third game, Allies, Hacker, Icon, SMLZ, and Cold. So last split, Curse was the top laner for OMG. Curse is still around, so they're using their substitute top laner in the first game of the series, or in the first game of the split. Top lane is the kind of lane that you can leave them out of your stack and feel pretty good about it. So unless Allies goes off, you're going to be completely fine. So in the past, OMG has not been the kind of team that gets huge kill scores, so I doubt they'll be very popular. I guess RNG will probably be the most popular team. Dominus is second, OMG is third, V5 is last. So let's take a look at RNG. RNG is using new. They have two new top laners, and they brought in a substitute mid laner. So we have new, XLB, Xiaohu, Betty, and Ming. So Ming, there's no fear of him getting subbed out. Betty, he's not getting subbed out. Xiaohu could theoretically be subbed out, but I think Xiaohu's a good player, and against OMG, they'll probably just run out the same roster a few times in a row. But this, I guess you could theoretically be afraid of. XLB is not getting subbed out. He's the only jungler on the team, I think. So, where did I leave off? RNG. RNG against OMG. I prefer the RNG side of this matchup. If we go back to my first video about the futures for this season, I have RNG rated higher than I have OMG. I do think RNG is an overvalued team, but I still think that they're much better than OMG. Let's get into the betting lines. So Dominus against V5. We have Dominus as a minus 270 favorite over V5. That's a 73% implied win rate to break even. V5 is plus 214. That's a 32% win rate to break even. You know, I think that everyone is going to be on Dominus, and I will also be on Dominus. But I'm not making a bet in this game because I don't think the Dominus is any good, and they're definitely not good enough to be minus 270. So if there's any way that I would bet on this, I would bet on V5, but I don't want to bet on V5 at all. Betting on V5 in real life is probably safer than betting on them, than making DraftKings lineups with them because of the substitute risk. So if you're looking to get exposure to V5, you're probably better off just making a regular bet. You're getting 2 times your money. So, like I said, I will not be betting. I'm going to put V5 down. Wait, no. I'm going to put Dominus down. DMO, not Dom. And the reason I'm putting them down is because I do think that they will win, but I'm not making the bet on V5 either. So, I will not be risking anything. I'm not touching that game from a betting perspective, unless there's something between right now and the game that convinces me to bet on V5, but that doesn't seem very likely. RNG against OMG. RNG is minus 167. That's 63%. OMG is plus 137. That's 42%. I like the RNG side here, like I said earlier. I do not think that there's enough of an edge to bet on them to win the match. I would like it to be a little bit closer. So if this was like a 130 line or a 120 line, I would consider it, but I'm just missing out on a lot of the potential value there. So I will not be betting on that. No value. So that is that. The other thing that we can do is kind of look at it lane by lane, but I don't know much about some of these players. So Bew was the backup for Sunning, basically. Him against Natural. Natural played okay at the end of the split. That's an advantage to Dominus. Xiaopeng versus Weiwei. Weiwei's another player from Sunning. Didn't really play a lot. Xiaopeng had some good games at the end of the season. I'm on the DMO side there. Twila, who was had a different name last split. I'm just a Xiaowei, I think. Him versus Mole. I think that's actually a lot closer than people may think. Mole has shown at times to be a good player, has an interesting champion pool. Helper against Sam D. I'm not familiar with either player, if I'm being honest, so I can't really give the edge to either side. And Mitsuki versus PP God. Obviously, I have to give the edge to PP God. What a name. But other than that, I don't have an opinion on this match other than DMO is like a gigantic favorite. I'm not really sure if they should be. V5 has a lot of question marks because of the substitute risk, but I don't think they're going winless again this season. So then OMG against RNG. I think that OMG is going to have the side pick for the first game, and in the 2 first matchups we saw today, they just stayed on the same sides for every single game, which I think was just by choice, but I'm honestly not sure. So just moving forward, I would say assume that OMG is going to be blue side at least 2 of these games, unless they think red side is better for some reason. So Allies against New. Allies was an okay player on V5 in a few matches. He actually gave his team chances to win at different points. So he was one of the brighter spots for V5. Like, I like the individual players that V5 had last season. They just weren't winning at all. For RNG, their new top laner New. I have no idea. I don't know anything about him. Hacker against XLB. So let's take a look at champion pools from the end of last season. So we have Hacker on Trundle, Echo, Elise, Lee Sin, a lot of Trundle, Elise, Lee Sin, Olaf. So they were horrible at the end of the split. Trundle was actually nerfed recently, so that's going to be a little bit of a problem for him. I don't see any Graves, Kindred, anything like that. That's not a good sign. RNG had Kindred games. I like RNG. That means XLB is also in play as a potential captain. So yeah, I think you're gonna want to get exposure to XLB, Xiaohu, and Betty as captains. Seems pretty good to me. And that's about it. So, like I said, if I'm making a real life bet on V5, that's the only way I'm getting access to them. RNG, not enough value on their bet in real life, but I do like them for DraftKings. They're probably going to be the highest owned team and have the best chance of being a high scoring team based off of what we've seen from them in the past. All right, now is the time to give out some DraftKings pointers. This is what I affectionately refer to as the almost perfect lineup segment of the show. It's going to be a little less trolly because I'm getting a little burnt out today. I've been working on this thing for a couple hours now with the editing. So let's just give a wholesome account of what's going on tonight. So DMO against V5, as I expected, DMO is going to be the most expensive team on the slate. V5 is going to be the largest underdog on the slate. It looks like this is not the case in the mid lane. So Icon is undervalued in the mid lane or in the AD carry position. So they must think that, and the support position. That's pretty weird. I don't know why they would do that. Maybe they're trying to make the salary constraints kind of tricky. But overall, I think we're going to have a lot of the same styles of lineups. AD carries and mid laners are obviously going to be the most popular captains. So we have Twila, Xiaohu, Mole, and Icon in the mid lane. I think that Xiaohu is probably my favorite mid laner tonight because playing against OMG... Actually, I guess V5 gives up a ton of points. I will probably want Xiaohu and Twila in my player pool tonight, and often in the same lineup, if I can make that work. Not sure how I'd be able to do that. It's probably too expensive, but let's keep going and see if that's the case. So then we have in the top lane, Natural 705 new. So you're getting a discount on the backup top laner. That's always good. So throw him in there. DMO Xiaopeng, bless. XLB 6U. So XLB should be safe. You're getting a $400 discount. You want both of those guys probably. You definitely do want exposure to both of those players. Help and Betty. All right, take the less expensive player. Ming and Mitsuki, take the less expensive player. Okay, and then take DMO. Oh. Or you don't take DMO. So basically, you will have opportunities to stack RNG and OMG together tonight. That is going to be the most popular build by far. Actually, okay, so DMO plus OMG may be more popular because people don't realize you can stack DMO with RNG. Personally, I want DMO and RNG in all of my lineups. I'm going to probably do another 20 tonight in this contest, so I would run out 20 combinations of DMO plus RNG, trying to get as many of those players into my lineup as possible. And then if I have to do a one-off, then I'll start looking at it on a lineup by lineup basis. So somebody reached out to me yesterday and was asking, like, if you have to use a one-off, like, where should you be looking for the one-off? So if we assume that this series is going to go like 2-1 OMG, you're probably not going to want a top laner in 2 losses. You could theoretically want a jungler in 2 losses. You could theoretically want a mid laner or an AD carry in 2 losses. Support is another position where you can't really afford 2 losses, and team another spot where you can't afford 2 losses. So if I was going to one-off with OMG, I would use Hacker, Icon, or SMLZ. The highest owned stack, I believe, is going to be probably an 80, well, most likely an 80 carry stack with Helper and Betty. So let's see. Is that even possible? DMO, and it looks possible. So that one's gonna be that's gonna be a popular one. Okay, so that's going to be very popular. The mid lane stack is going to be very popular. RNG as your primary stack is going to be less popular than DMO, so there is some actual leverage opportunities there. Hopefully V5 just steals a game tonight against Dominus. But I guess Dominus is probably the highest upside play because based off of what we know about V5 with a different roster. You know what's interesting? I think everyone is going to see V5 and remember that they were horrible last split, see the substitution of players, and then not think that could make them better. Because theoretically, which is, I mean, it's somewhat obvious, when you get a new group of players, maybe they're just going to be more passive and conservative, especially on their first time on stage. So I'll probably want a lot of RNG leverage, because I think if RNG is able to outscore DMO, you're going to win a lot of money. So that's basically the bet you're making tonight, I think. Otherwise, you're going to be chopping with a lot of DMO teams. So from an almost perfect lineup perspective, I think that I would probably suggest going double mid laner, because Twila is more of a known quantity, even though he doesn't have the same name. Xiaohu, assuming he doesn't get subbed out, is a very good player. It should be a lower volatility game, that second match, because both teams are more capable of actually playing League of Legends the right way. OMG keeps games relatively close. I think last split they were one of the lower kill score teams while losing, and that's not really who you want to target against. But there's always there are always outlier games in some of these series. So these matchups are not as exciting as day one. I really thought that the World Elite EDG matchup was going to be a lot of fun to watch, and I was right. And then I thought that the Sunning matchup was interesting to me personally, because I was just hopeful that they would be able to get off to a strong start, because I do like their prospects for later on in the season. So that's about it. That's going to end the first video for LPL Summer 2020. I'm going to post a video like this hopefully every day. A couple different segments, some highlights, almost perfect lineup, about last night. If you have any ideas about different content you'd like to see me put out, just leave me a comment, send me a tweet, send me a DM, follow me on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, etc. Retweets are very highly appreciated. My goal is to get my Twitter followers to 1,000 and my YouTube channel to 1,000 subscribers. So if there's anything that you can do to help me on that journey, please consider doing it, especially if you continue winning money. Thanks again for watching, and I'll talk to you tomorrow.
No, you don't need the.
I'm doing this my way. He a legend, he a legend, he a legend. He a legend, he a legend, he a legend.
Fucking on it though. Then
He a
you're gonna
legend.
it up later.
Welcome to the league, to the league, to the league, to the league, to the league of items. Welcome to the league, to the league, to the league, to the league, to the league of items.
Pike on money, pike on money, pike on money. We making pike on money. Payday, about to throw a rack on China. Need some DFS advice, where can I find some? League of Items got the sheet with all the lineups and all the stacks that you need to get to diamond. League of